People always tell me, you are so indifferent. In Spain, it is an insult, but for me, it is a compliment. Well, thank you, because I do not differentiate. I keep repeating the same thing every day, expecting for some changes. That is called madness. Then you think the world is mad, but it is because you participate in that madness. What does an awakened person mean to you? When I don't want anything from the other. How many awakened people do you think there are? Well, studies have shown 0.0000. True compassion extends even to the system, saying, oh well, that's it. I understand now. Thank you for everything that happened. Goodbye. And that's it. Don't get hooked. You have to have compassion even for those who manipulate you. That is love. If I keep saying that they control me, I am once again in the ego, right where they want me, in my own prison, sitting on a cushion, meditating for 10 hours, and in the end, you die of cancer. So what happened? It was useless, because you never addressed the root cause of your unconscious need for love. Money, relationships, all that nonsense was designed to keep you distracted. My family, my wife, my children. So within me and within the character, there is no love, because you're looking for love. But while you are looking for something, how can you give what you are looking for? It makes no sense. And you were programmed to search for love. That is why, in all your activities, you seek love. So that is where we come to the cause of all the drama of humanity. Let's get started, Markus Witte. Well, thank you for the invitation, and thank you all for coming. You are giving yourself a gift by being here, because deep down, everyone feels the desire to know themselves better. And that is not always an easy step, as I have observed. Many hold on tightly to their beliefs, and even though they are living an unhappy life, they refuse to change anything. So, whenever I challenge a belief, people instinctively react defensively. That's called cognitive dissonance. That is why you should allow yourself the pleasure of simply listening and observing. But as you can see, religiously clinging to a belief is dangerous, because whoever believes is identifying with something they are not, and in doing so, they become trapped. But we will explore this little by little. Everyone here wants to know about food, but in the end, you will realize that it is not about food, not about cigarettes, not about alcohol, not about any vice. The real question is, why do I have this vice? And that is what we are going to observe now. I always invite you to observe, not to believe. If you start believing me, you are simply switching one religion for another. You are in the same place again. You really shouldn't believe in anything, because the one who believes is not the real you. It doesn't matter what you believe in, but ask yourself, why do I have to believe? Why don't I feel it? Why do I hold on to something that others have sold me, and from there I begin to believe? You don't have to believe anything. Little by little, we will explore all of this. Then we will see where all the discontent you experience truly begins. If you are happy, why are you here? It wouldn't make sense. Why attend a conference if you already feel complete and fulfilled? This makes you realize that you're not truly happy. You can't be happy while playing a role, because that role is just a construct designed to keep you dissatisfied. Do you understand? The ego cannot be happy. And that is why, when you are not happy, you do things you don't really want to do, which creates anxiety. And what do you need to calm anxiety? A drug. Whether it's your phone, the refrigerator, alcohol, or cigarettes, you need something to numb yourself. But the drug itself isn't the problem. The real issue is your anxiety. So why are you anxious? Because you're living a life that isn't truly yours. It's that simple. And that will never change unless you change. Actually, you don't have to do anything. It's simple. As long as you keep searching outside yourself, you will continue feeding that unhappy person. That's why you don't have to do anything, and you don't have to know anything. In fact, if you truly listen to yourself, you wouldn't even need to be here. But you don't listen to yourself. You are always listening to the outside world, and you need to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing that? It doesn't make any sense. Do you follow me? Many people might say, I don't agree. But who disagrees? Exactly, the false self. Again, you are defending something that is not you. So you live a life that is not yours. That's why we will watch a short film later to help you see where your unhappiness truly begins. Because if you are seeking happiness, what does that mean? It means you are unhappy. Why do you seek pleasure? Because you live a displeasing life. You live in misery all the time. That's why you need a drug. You need a distraction. So instead of seeking distractions or numbing yourself, ask, why? Why am I living a life that is not mine? How did I go from being a happy child to a disillusioned adult? How did I reach this state? That is what you must observe. Don't believe it. Observe. Children show you the truth. Mom, you are so boring. But instead of listening and reflecting, Mom continues being boring. Instead of saying, thank you for warning me, I'll reconnect with my inner child, she stays on the same track. But why? The same goes for Dad. Why? What is happening? If I don't ask myself the fundamental questions, everything I do is pointless. Everything you do is pointless if it is based on other people's ideas. In reality, you function like a programmed robot. Absolutely everything you do within your character is useless. You may be useful to others, but are you truly serving your own essence, who you really are? And yet, you think you are following a spiritual path. But who thinks that? And where does this idea of spirituality come from? Again, you are identifying with something that is not you. Are you truly engaged in what you do, or are you just keeping your inner jailer alive? That does not matter to the system. What matters is that you keep it alive. Whether you align with one illusion or another, it makes no difference. That's why doing nothing is so important. Do you follow me? Now you might be thinking, what do you mean doing nothing? That's right. I too had a moment of realization when I saw that everything I had done was useless. Absolutely nothing mattered because I was living in an illusion. So, as a character, you are an illusion within an illusion. What's the point of that? Where does an illusion go within another illusion? Exactly, nowhere. And that is the core distraction of the system you live in, keeping you preoccupied with maintaining what you are not. And what you are not is the jailer of your soul. That's why you only truly live for a first 4 years. The rest is just an illusion. Work, relationships, partnerships, all those entanglements are meaningless because they are driven by the programmed mind, not by your true self. But those are other people's ideas. So if they are other people's ideas, I'm following someone else's programming. I'm not following my heart. That means everything I'm doing is useless. It sounds harsh, but it helps to get the point across. Many people don't like the word robot, but if I create a program, and then that program is executed, that is programming. And in that sense, there is a robot. Humanity works the same way. 99% of people live programmed, conditioned. They are not truly living. No one is actually living. But to know what your soul truly longs for, to know what you really want, I think a lot of self-inquiry is necessary. Otherwise, it's too easy to be conditioned by everything you've experienced, everything you've been taught, religion, teachers, society, whatever it may be. So to find what you truly long for, what you really want, I think it's not easy to discover it unless you engage in deep meditation and introspection, is it? The less you do, the wiser you become. The greatest enemy of wisdom is the desire to know. Who wants to know? The ego. And as long as the ego wants to know, you are keeping alive what you are not. You don't have to know anything. You only need to discover who you are not. Nothing more. Because wisdom is within you. Whoever desires something, whoever has an intention, already knows it. You do not need to know it. The moment you try to know it, you keep the ego alive and fall into the trap once again. Do you understand? I know it's difficult, but you don't have to do anything. You don't have to know anything. I'm talking about the character you believe yourself to be. Yet, you still want to know. Why? Because someone told you that you are a poor, inferior worm who must seek enlightenment. What nonsense is that? The light that you already are wants to become more light? What does that even mean? They sold you an illusion, and you bought into it. You got on the bicycle of illusion and lost yourself in it. That is a massive trap. I invite you to observe, not to believe. And no one should feel offended, because who gets offended? Once again, the part of you that you are not. Again, you have fallen into the trap. Observation is the key to everything. So what is observation? It is not getting involved in what you are observing. If you are watching your own movie, you must watch it not as your story, but simply as a story, like watching a film, like reading a novel. But instead, you watch your movie as if it were real. It's like when you go to the cinema and then come home crying because of the film. What is the point of that? Do you think the movie was real? That's why people react emotionally to films, because they believe in them. But if it's not real, why do you react? That's why it's called emotion. It is external. It is movement. You react to the movement of illusion. Well, emotion is part of the system, and it is one of the greatest deceptions. You must understand this. People always tell me, you are so indifferent. In Spain, it is an insult, but for me it is a compliment. Well, thank you, because I do not differentiate. For me, there is no difference. When you are truly indifferent, you do not divide. And that is a good thing. You should not differentiate, but you do. My family, my wife, my children. And where is love in that? There is no real love in that, my or the character. You cannot love. It's that simple. And why? Because you're looking for love. But how can you give something that you are looking for? That makes no sense. You were programmed to seek love. And so in everything you do, you search for love. And this is where we arrive at the root of all human suffering. You were once a happy baby, a pure being, playing, exploring. A baby is never unhappy if it is still a baby. But then what happens? The baby turns to whom? To the unhappy. And why does the baby become unhappy? Because it meets the mother. And the mother is not happy. The mother cannot be happy because she has taken on the role of mother. She has identified with the body, with the character. The ego cannot be happy. It can only be distracted. And at that moment of distraction, There is a temporary sense of relief. I no longer feel that pain within me. But then the pain returns. Nothing has changed. You were just distracted. Do you understand? You don't have to agree. Just understand what I'm sharing. The rest is up to you. I'm not going to get involved with you. I am so indifferent that I do not care about you, because I have no interest in you. And that is love. Not having an interest in the other, that is love. Because if I care about the other, then I have an interest in them. And the moment I have an interest, love disappears. There's something I'm trying to get. Whether it's from a child, a pet, or anyone else, there is no love in that. You are simply searching for love. And why? Because you were raised by two beggars of love. Two beggars, your mother and your father, produced another beggar. Two robots create another robot. Two slaves create another slave. Two addicts create another addict. So you are nothing more than a copy of others. You do not live the life of your being or your soul. You live the life of others. And that automatically creates anxiety. And how do you soothe anxiety? With a drug. And your favorite drug is the refrigerator. You open it, choose what you want, and in that moment you feel relief. But you are just running the program. That's how simple it is. The root cause of all suffering is your search for love. You seek love in your job, in your partner, in food, in everything you do. Because that is how the ego works. It is conditioned. Ego means I want something for myself. Clear? Simple? So everything you do through the character is useless. Clear? The only thing that matters is to serve. That is the only thing. But you must observe how you are serving. Do you expect something in return? When I expect something from my children, from my partner, that is not love. Where is love if I expect something from another? I know I'm saying a lot right now, but I'm planting a seed. You will go home and continue your life as before. But the seed will remain inside you, and one day you will remember. Sooner or later, a moment will come when you will say, I can't go on like this. I am so unhappy. Or an illness will shake you, forcing you to stop and see. You cannot keep playing this game. Your search for love is the cause of all suffering. Because your parents were searching for love, you started searching for love. You believed that being recognized was love. You sought their attention. But why? Why do you need your parents' attention? You arrived in this world. You exist. That is enough. You don't need to be a beggar. But your parents were beggars, so they trained and programmed you to seek love as well. Clear? Simple? Easy? That is your drama, and that is why you copy things. You copy ideas, you copy programming, and you are loyal to that programming. For example, cancer. Do you know what they are? They are loyalty. Smoking, loyalty to the tribe. You follow programming, nothing more. And whoever follows programming is nothing but a robot. The ego is a robot, a construct, a mechanism designed to enclose that which you truly are not. So, while you are engaged in activity through your thoughts, you keep your soul locked away. That's why you can only truly live for 4 years. Nowadays, the character is probably formed even earlier. You are not born with a character. I was shaped as a character. But when you observe, you learn to walk and talk without one. So, character is not essential. It's just a tool for those who want to use you, but that's another story. However, character doesn't serve you when you want to play. Quite the opposite. The moment the ego takes over through external conditioning, you imprison the soul, and everything you do becomes meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. Because only the true being can manifest and act with real intention. So what should you do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And not seek knowledge either, because the moment I start seeking it again, I am once again looking outward, believing in something I must achieve in the illusion. But in illusion, there is nothing to achieve. You simply have to play like a child. That's the only purpose of being here, to play. There is nothing else to do. Money, relationships, those are just distractions. They were put in place to keep you preoccupied. Just observe it all, and don't believe me. But you will realize that you are living an unhappy life. Why? And if you don't feel that unhappiness, it's because you are too distracted. But you are not truly happy either, because you constantly need distractions. And if you ever find yourself without them, you will notice it. Oops, what's happening? That's why we do retreats. Not just fasting from food and liquids, but also fasting from words, fasting from activity, to truly realize that you are not what you think you are. The illusion is trying to reach something that already exists. What does that even mean? Nonsense. But that's what you've been programmed to do. You've been taught that through your ego you must strive to become what you already are. But you will never reach it because you are already there. That's the trick. And as long as you are busy chasing something you can never attain because you already are it, you keep alive this false sense of self. That's why you remain stuck in this endless loop, going round and round and round. You don't know how many times this has happened. Maybe for millions of years. Maybe over millions of lives. You don't know. But you keep repeating the same thing over and over, and nothing really changes. It's difficult to hear, but I invite you to observe. I claim nothing, but I can observe to what extent I am still following an external program. At what point do I continue engaging in something meaningless? Can you truly see that what you're doing is pointless? You think it's meaningful, but the moment you believe in it, you keep the ego alive, and instantly it becomes meaningless again. Do you see how deep the trap goes? That's why doing nothing is so difficult. To simply be still and observe. To do nothing. And at that moment, the intention of true being emerges. That is called being. A selfless state of existence. But the ego always has an interest in something. Many say, no, I am serving others. But you don't need to play the role of the savior, because in doing so, you are once again playing a role. You're entangled again. The three most common roles are victim, persecutor, or savior. That's how people live, caught up in these roles, believing they are doing something. But while you are doing it, who is actually acting? Not you. Once again, you are keeping the jailer of your soul alive. So what's the point of coming back here? Why does the soul, the spirit, keep returning, incarnating hundreds of times if we just keep doing the same thing? Because this is the only way to free yourself. What must we do to be free? Are you saying that we must do absolutely nothing, just remain as we were when we were children? Is that what you're telling me? So you can see that a baby still has the connection. A baby cannot truly be hurt. But the child no longer, because the child picks up the habits of the parents again. If you observe real mothers, not those who are conditioned to be mothers, but those who are simply indifferent, disinterested in their baby, in that space of detachment, the baby is free to play, to explore, without immediately absorbing the mother's fears, worries, ideas, and dramas. The word mother itself shouldn't exist as a fixed role, nor should the behaviors associated with it. Because at that moment, the being is using the body, and that's all that matters. When the being uses the body, it knows what to do. You can't know, and you don't need to know. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to look for a way. So here we are, in a trap. Someone keeps us in a trap because we are only truly alive for 4 years. So what's the point of coming here if I only get to live for 4 years? It makes no sense, unless someone benefits from my ignorance. If I remain unaware, then I serve someone else. Don't you see? You believe you are this character, dependent on a spiritual path, dependent on 1,000 external things. But all of that is just another idea. The beauty of it all is that you don't even need to understand what I am saying. When you stop doing, when you listen instead to the call of your own being, then you will see. And that's why you must not be invested in anything you do. Not even a little. Total indifference. Total disinterest. That is love. That is why a mother cannot love her child. It's impossible. Obvious. The mother is a beggar for love, so what love can she possibly give? She can only give the kind of love she was taught. She applies a love that is learned, conditioned. And what is conditioned love? It is transactional. I give to you, you give to me. It is a business. That is how you were formed and programmed. That is why you have an interest in what you do. You have an interest in your children because they are your children. In your partner because they are your partner. My. And my is ego. Obviously, you only care about what belongs to you, but there is no love in that. That is why everything you do as a character is useless, because there is no love in it. And everything that is not based on love is meaningless. Worse, it only causes harm, naturally. Because when you act with an interest, it is selfish, and selfishness only creates more selfishness in the world. Look around. Observe the world. Oh, is this what we've created? Yes, but unconsciously. Because we believe that humans are bad, that the world is cruel. But in reality, it's just a mess of programmed characters, robots running a script. The being that you truly are cannot deceive others, cannot lie, cannot be violent, because it knows that the other is itself. So how could it possibly harm another? It's impossible. All aggression, all of it. It is not yours. It does not come from your being. It is external conditioning. Ask yourself, why am I angry? Where does this anger come from? It is not from the being. You copied rage from your parents. And why did you copy it? Because you were searching for love. You wanted to be loyal to them. Mom, are you paying attention to me? No? Then I will become just like you, so you will notice me. And so you copied their suffering. You became a mirror of their unhappiness. And now you are just a copy of others. That is why you are unhappy. It's obvious. And now you search for happiness in everything. But really, you are just searching for distractions. It's clear, simple, easy to understand. You live a life that isn't beautiful and everyone knows it. And when you observe that madness neutrally, you see, I repeat the same thing every day and expect something to change. That is the very definition of insanity. You think the world is crazy? Then why do you participate in its madness? Many times I have asked myself, am I the crazy one? Because I look at this completely tangled world, a world full of people who have no idea what they are doing. Am I crazy? Or is the world crazy? So I simply observe, and I am fine with myself. All I see around me are beggars. And I say, well, that is their problem, but I will not join the madness. But people want to join the madness. Well, okay. There you go, following the herd again. But where does the herd take you? You don't even know. It leads you straight to the slaughterhouse. Again, don't follow anything, no one. Don't follow any ideas, nothing at all. Are you orienting yourself outward again? Really simple and easy. Are we clear? Are we seeing who the robots are? Who the beggars for love are? Are we understanding that there is no solution in the ego? And you don't even have to agree with me, because the one who disagrees, that's the one you are not. Just observe. Always observe. Because the moment you engage, the trap is already closing around you. But you don't have to know anything. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to achieve anything. And isn't that a relief? Because in your head you think, oh, I have to do this. I have to achieve that, but you don't. You don't have to do anything, and you don't have to achieve anything. How can you achieve something in an illusion? Who wants a title? It's just another classification, another label. Is that clear? Are we good there? So now we can start to see where your addiction comes from. Why does the being, knowing that it will be conditioned again, keep coming back? Why does it reincarnate, only to spend 4 years in clarity before being pulled into the same trap over and over again? Well, they come here saying, look, what do baby do? They try to wake up the ones who are asleep. But the asleep ones, they fall back into sleep after the others. The reality is, you are trapped here. And the being that is born into this world knows that this is the only way it can free itself. Because outside in the beyond it has nothing, no tools in its hands. But here you have a tool. And what do you do with it? You hand it over to the system. Who is the ego? The ego is nothing but a servant of the system, a program, a tool that they can manipulate. That's why I say you only live for 4 years. A baby observes, and all these parents, they look at their baby and say, I have a teacher in front of me. What does that mean? It means the baby is still, silent, simply observing, nothing more. But instead of learning from that, what do parents do? They copy themselves onto the child. They say, I have to educate, I have to mold, I have to shape. And at that moment, they've already lost. They don't understand that they are the disciples. That is the problem. If parents truly understood that they are the ones who need to learn, everything would be different. But instead, they turn the master into a disciple. Again, they turn the free being into an addict, into a beggar for love. And so the cycle continues. You can only free yourself here. And that is the trap. That is why the system works so hard to keep you asleep. Vaccines, placing you face to face with robots from the very start. The education system, it's all designed to put you to sleep. Layer upon layer, physical, emotional, so that you cannot escape. It is nothing but a tool to manipulate and keep you ignorant, because only here can you free yourself. That's why procreation should only happen between 2 awake people, not 2 asleep ones. 2 asleep people make another asleep person. 2 slaves create another slave. 2 robots produce another robot. 2 addicts bring another addict into the world. That is the real responsibility of parents. Not passing on their traumas. But if you have children, you have passed on all your traumas to them, and you can see it in them. They carry your traumas. But don't feel guilty about it. Just understand it. Why am I angry? Where does this rage come from? I'm copying my mother. Why? Because I'm still searching for love. What kind of mess am I in? Stop searching for love, and it all dissolves. If you remove the cause, there is no effect. Your rage is nothing but an unconscious search for love through imitation. If you end the search for love, everything disappears. You don't need to peel away layers like an onion. Who even peels the layers? The ego. And here we are, once again. You cannot heal yourself. Just let go of the illusion that you are someone. And that's it. There is nothing else to do. Because all this talk about eliminating the ego, it doesn't work. That is the great lie they sell you. And that's why I don't see a single liberated ego. Sitting on a cushion, meditating for 10 hours a day, and in the end, you die of cancer. So what happened? It was all for nothing. Because you haven't gotten to the root of your unconscious seeking for love. Distracting yourself, that's what you can do in 1,000 ways. And do you know who is most vulnerable to distraction? The religious and the spiritual. Because they will believe anything. You tap them on the forehead, knock knock, and they believe it. That's why they are the easiest to manipulate. Even more than those who at least attempt some reasoning. You said before that in order to have a relationship, we would have to be awake. Can you describe what an awake person means to you? When I don't want anything from the other, that's awake. Awake is when you don't want anything from another person, right? How many awake people do you think exist in this world? Well, the studies that have been done have shown 0.000. So if only the awake can be together, what does that mean? And it doesn't matter. If you want to believe the Bible story, even that starts with just two, Adam and Eve. If two conscious beings survive and procreate, only then does real change of humanity begin. Any other way, when everything else depends on the change of humanity, is nonsense. Just repetition, a cycle, a chain of unconsciousness passed from one generation to the next. How can someone change when they are dragging their entire emotional history behind them? If they haven't understood who they are not, they will keep passing it on. You can observe this everywhere. Look at all the people trying to do something alternative. And yet, when you really watch them, what happens? Oops. They talk exactly like their parents did. They repeat the movie. Nothing has changed. Because they have not understood the root of their unconsciousness, their search for love. And so, the cycle continues. So what does this mean? It means that procreation should only happen when both people are awake. And procreation is not the same as sex. Sex should not even exist, but the problem is sex. Sexuality has been completely corrupted and brainwashed. Because what are you really searching for in sex? Love. So what is the point? Keeping another beggar for love alive, and again, confusion, confusion, confusion. Sex, or let's say procreation, should only be procreation. When I intend to procreate, to give a space for another being, and who has it? Nobody. Then there is no point in what they are doing. It's pure confusion. Pure unconsciousness, and it's on purpose. They keep you there. That's why you see this manipulation, this tool, in every aspect of life. And all those involved in tantric sexuality, or whatever nonsense, it's the same trap. The ego is searching for pleasure again. When I intend to procreate, to give a space for another being. But why do you seek pleasure? Because you live in misery. Because if you weren't living in misery, why would you need pleasure? If you were truly fulfilled, why would you chase happiness? If you were already whole, why would you need distraction? Observe the confusion. But don't judge it, because who is judging? The character again. And there you are, back in the illusion. True compassion is even for the system itself, saying, I see now, I understand. Thank you for everything that happened. Goodbye. And that's it. Don't get caught up. You must have compassion even for those who manipulate you. That's love. Because if you keep saying they are doing this to me, then you're back in the ego, back in the same trap. You're exactly where they want you to be, in a prison of your own mind. Do you think detaching from your character requires effort? A person who has spent 40 or 50 years stuck in the same patterns, surely it's difficult for them to wake up overnight. That's why people turn to meditation and tools. But where are you with meditation? So I think. The problem is that you think. That's where the trap is. If I look back, I see I have made personal progress. Progress with what? With your ego. Where are you now? And that's the deception. But if someone becomes more peaceful, more tolerant, isn't that a good thing? Sure. But where are you? And who thinks he's improved? That's the most dangerous trap, the happy ego. Because a happy ego is a well-fed prisoner. The jailer is still alive. So watch out for these traps. They give you meditation, and you say, oh, I feel so much better. But who feels better? The character, the illusion. Can you reach liberation overnight without effort? Yes, this is it. Just by observing? Yes. Do you have to observe every day? Yes. Is observing like concentration? Yes, but without intention. Does it take time like a job? Yes, but the real question is, who sits on the cushion? And who sits there waiting for something? That's what keeps the illusion alive. And that's the trap. Real meditation is about going to the root. No distractions. And most meditation's techniques are just self-hypnosis. You feel happy, but then you step back into life and nothing has changed. So what was the point? That's the trap. If something could truly set you free, it wouldn't be allowed. No book will set you free. No technique will set you free. Because a technique creates dependency. And who does the technique? The character, the ego. And so you keep alive what you are not. The only way is to step back, to retreat. It looks like doing nothing, but in reality, it is the only thing that matters. Look at a child. A child learns to walk and talk. Not through a school, not through a technique, but through observation. That's all you need. Observe. So observe, at what moment did you get entangled again? Without judgment. Without analysis. Because the moment you start analyzing, you're already trapped. Analysis is just an idea in your head, a comparison, a structure, so you're caught again. True observation is neutral, without emotion. Because if you see something through emotion, who is seeing? The character again. And if the character is seeing, then you're not really observing. You're just caught up in the illusion. What you see doesn't matter. The only purpose is to become aware of when you're hooking yourself back into the illusion. But do you need it? Imagine you're running on a hamster wheel, and then you see a ladder in front of you. You think, oh, if I climb that, I'll become enlightened. But what are you actually doing? Still running in circles, like a mad thing, convinced you're making progress. Only when you stop do you finally see, oh, I've been doing the same thing all along. Where am I? What am I doing? Nothing. Do nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's the hardest part. You don't need to save anyone. You don't need to help anyone. But isn't the point of life to help each other? Like you, for example, with your talks. You're helping too, aren't you? Yes, but only because I don't care. And I expect no results. If you feel the need to save someone, playing the role of the savior, you are already trapped, because now you're playing the role of the savior. And the moment you play a role, you are lost. And if you want to heal someone, you won't heal anyone. In fact, you'll only make things worse. And the deeper you go, the clearer this will become. Do you see now that you don't need to do anything? And what about parents who want to raise their child differently? That's ego too? Yes. That's why it's useless. Even with alternative methods like the Waldorf system, you're not really educating, you're just training another robot. Real liberation is something else. As long as you are part of a system, following rules. Who follows rules? The ego. So what's the solution? Returning to community. In a true community, there are no moms and dads as roles. There's no false attachment. There's just life. Now imagine giving birth in nature and not registering your child. What happens? Nothing. The system can only take your child because you sold them. And how do you sell them? Through their name. That's the trick. Your name, it's not yours. It's registered, which means your parents sold it to the system. The name belongs to the system. And what happens when you use something that isn't yours? You violate copyright. That's why they call them authorities. So what's the answer? Understand the system, master it. If I still see shadows in myself, I'm not ready yet. But that doesn't mean I'll stop. I'm going to have more children because I'm not giving up so easily. I estimate I've only lived 10–20% of my life, which means the rest is still ahead of me. Because when you understand how the body works, there is no expiration date. There is a deadline because everything must dissolve. But who sets the deadline? You do. I'm not setting one. The ego isn't setting one. But one day, the being will say, that's it, we're done. And then goodbye. Not through programming, not through illusion, just a quiet farewell. Is it all clear now? Good.